the registration, the one I'm using. But I'll use my use another number. It has gone now, but it's telling me now that.
Well, you can I
Now
go,
it's now
you know how to count, you know how to copy this thing, the link I sent to them.
this.
This this is it. Okay. This is what. So you know the link now. You can send them the link. This is the YouTube.
This link.
Yeah.
Just copy.
Yes. Copy. Then this is the Zoom.
Zoom.
So this is a
Chat. But nobody yet. So I have to send it to.
But they have the Zoom link.
No, I've tell them they don't have the Zoom link yet. It's your own.
That they don't see that.
Okay.
Carry laptop, you account, they look for facts.
Ah. Okay. Let me copy the. So now, okay, now once they join, let me tell them the link. Yeah. That is the same, the one where you send, give me now. Yeah, I will just copy and give them.
You can copy it from me. I think where is participant? He said invite participant, something like that. Where you now master? Was the same link that I sent to. This is it. This one. Okay. This is it.
This is the
copy invitation.
This is the link.
Yeah. This is the copy invitation. So that's it.
So if it's the same, because I will use WhatsApp.
Just this is a copy invitation.
Yes.
It's already on live. So this is just the.
Okay. I think no that thing. I can copy now and use your flash. I can screen.
Hmm? Oh,
No, 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 no. What's
That's karùn-ún. Ọtí ni mo sọ fún mi lánàá yẹn, wọ́n wá pè mí padà ń sìn. Ṣé ń gbọ́? Wọ́n ní àwọn pé ìyá Martin.
Uh, hello. Good morning,
Good morning,
everyone.
sir.
Please mute your
Good morning,
mic
sir.
before. Please, once you come in, mute your mic. That's why I've been trying to mute almost everybody, and I find out some people will still unmute themselves. Please, once you come in, you are meant to mute yourself before we start. Good morning once again, everyone. And we would kickstart the lecture now. So I will advise everyone to please mute him or herself so that there won't be any interference into the lecture. So I advise everyone to please mute. So we'll start off immediately. Now, you've been taking some other parts of course 101, which is introductions to the fundamentals of computer science. So we will be looking at the programming aspects of the course. And the programming aspect of the course is where we looked at what is programmed and then what are the things we need to do in terms of writing a simple program. We'll be using Visual Basics, the event-driven programming language. So this, at the end of this part of the lecture, the last part of the lecture, you should be able to understand the concept of programming, identify the importance of programming, understand the benefits of using Microsoft Visual Basic 6.0. But we have other versions now. Visual Studio can inculcate Visual Basic into his platform. Understand the Visual Basic event-driven programming concept. When we mean event-driven, we have the cursor, like the command prompt driven. But this particular one we are dealing with, which is Visual Basic, is event-driven. Means that you're going to create a kind of visual of what you want to do with some tools, then you're going to write code underneath those tools, basically controls, and then you'll be able to do something or do some basic programming through them. Learn the fundamental of designing, implementing, and distributing a Visual Basic application. Learn to use the Visual Basic Toolbox. Learn to modify object property, learn object method, use the menu design window. So these basically are the objective and the things we want to learn within the next 2 weeks or more. So please, because this is the core area, because this will help you out in the assignment and the practical part of this course, so that I will, towards the tail end, I'll be able to explain how you go about the practical aspect of the course, and then how you're able to work or fill in your manual for submission. And then along the line, we'll be able to tell you when the time for the practical and everything, and I'll display here. And then since we are online, so it will be easier for you to work on the practical and then tell you the date you need to submit the manual. Now, we want to look at three basic concepts now. What is a program, programming, and a programmer? These three basic words. What is a program? A program is a sequence of instruction to solve a particular problem. Or we can have it as to perform a specific task with a computer. I've asked people or those who are in the core area of programming, why do we write code? Why do we write program? The essence of writing code or writing any program is to solve problem. The essence of any program you see on the shelf is basically solving a particular, it's not for fun. So we'll look at, when we get further in this lecture, we looked at what are the methodology we can use to solve problems using the computer. Well, performing a specific task with the computer, So then what is programming? Programming is the process or activity of writing that program. You've defined what a program is. Well, the process or the activity of writing this program is called programming. A program is written by using programming language like Java, C++, Python, Visual Basics. Since this course is more of a procedural, we're using the procedural programming language to explain the concept of programming. That's why we want to use the Visual Basics, which is more of event-driven. You'll get to know all about VB and all the things you need to know. Once these codes are written, because your system, the computer, does not understand the English-like code we are writing, even your word or whatsoever you're doing on the system, the main language the system understands is called the machine language. And the machine language is in zeros and one. Zeros and one. So now at the front end, you're writing English-like form of code. So what happened? How does the system now understand those English forms? Is by compiling those English forms or interpreting them into what is called the target language or the object language, which is in zeros and one. There is a process. It's just like I have my code, which is in the English form. I have my interpreter or compiler in the middle doing the interpretation, dealing the compiling, and all of that into its equivalent target or object, which are the machine language, which is in zeros and one. So this act of writing code is called programming. Then the last word here, a programmer. A programmer is a person that writes programs or code. So these three words are different but related, because programming is the art of writing programs, and whoever is in the art or habit of writing codes is a programmer. Now, let's move further. Like I was trying to explain the concept of programs now, or codes. In general, when we solve a computing problem, we are talking about some input. So we give the system some input, and that input is now processed. Because you have also been able to tell the system, I want you to do this with whichever input is coming from whatsoever source. Process it. And once that input is processed, then there will be an output. And that output is the solution or result of what you have programmed for the system to process with the input that had been given to it. That is just in a nutshell talking about the concept of programming. You get input, you process the input, it gives you an output. And that output must reflect the solution to the problem you want to solve. So take notes of this. This is the classic view of computer programming. Computation as calculation. So what I've just defined is the concept of computer programming. Get inputs, whatever source, process the input, and bring out an output. That is the goal. So how you are able to design this flow depends on the platform, or in a nutshell, the programming language you are using. Because every programming language have a structure, have some other things peculiar to that programming language. So you ask, okay, how does this programming language, or we'll see that of VB since we are using VB, we'll see that of VB very soon. So how does this programming language get the inputs? What are the syntax for that? How do I process it? And how do I display the results that those processing code have generated? We will use a particular science form of solving problem. That is the Polier's steps. So we're going to look at briefly how Polier's steps in solving computing problem. So what are these steps? We have this is just an acronym, the UDIE. What is it all about? And how do we apply this concept to solving computing problem? Now, the key issue is in the world we are, you must develop an analytic skill of solving problem. Problem solving is something that you need to develop. And to solve some of these problems, you need to think outside the box. So problem solving is a skill you must develop as you prepare yourself for the marketplace. Problem solving, process of defining a problem. If you want to develop, so you must first define a problem. Search for relevant information and resources about that problem. And of discovering, designing, and evaluating the solution for further opportunity. We'll go back to the Polier's method, the steps, and use this to analyze one or two things. Now, the steps comprises of four major steps. One, the U stand for understand the problem. And I've talked to people who are into programming and during mentorship, and I'll tell them that there's no way you can write a meaningful code to a problem you don't understand. First and foremost, I want to solve a problem. I must understand the problem. I must understand the problem. So the process of understanding the problem is key. It's key because you cannot solve a problem you don't understand. So writing code is not about, oh, the syntax, oh, I'm good at the syntax and all of that. And you'll find out, you'll still get about people who had made difference in computing world, in IT world, are those who have identified a problem, understood the problem, and provide a robust solutions to the problem. So the first major step is to ask yourself, do I really understand the problem I want to solve? In some cases, you break the problem down. Okay, this is all about this. Okay, look at this, look at that. Now, once that first stage, which is the you understanding the problem, then you devise a good plan to solve it. Plan, In case of a computer, they will tell you this the D, which is devise a good plan to solve it, is that okay, write an algorithm, which is not a programming language, or create a flow of how you want to. Now you understood the problem. And in some cases, if you find the problem is so complex and large, you can break them down into sub-problems and create a flow from those sub-problems to the main problem. So you can now devise or create what is called an algorithm. Oh, this is the problem. Oh, I can solve this. Okay, this is the plan. If I go this way, if I move up, and all of that. Then you create what is called an algorithm. That is the D. That is devise a good plan to solve the problem. In computing, we tell you create an algorithm, a flow chart. We have several the UML diagrams for those who are key in software development. You look at all of those things and use those tools to design a good plan to solve that. So once you have done that, the next aspect is the I, which is what? Implement the plan. Oh, I have a good understanding of the problem. I've done some feasibility study. I've asked people who are using the system or who want to use the system, to tell me about the system. Oh, we want to do this because as a programmer or somebody who is designing something for a company or for whosoever clients, you want to design a solution, and maybe a computing solution to you that you are designing it. You might not be an expert. You might not have. You might not be in that field. That's the reason why you must have a visibility study, understand. And you can understand a problem in another man's field that you are not an expert in. So you need to ask, and this is where the understanding of the problem comes, is because of those gathering, those things you have gathered, that you now form your algorithm and say, okay, this is the flow, how the flow should be. Then you now come to the, okay, I've seen the flow. Which programming language, based on my understanding of the problem and this flow, this kind of design, this kind of algorithm. Then you can say, okay, I think Visual Basics, because I'm designing for people who are not knowledgeable about how to use anything that has to do with a command-based application. So I should be able to create a graphic user's interface that is robust enough, that is users-friendly, that they don't need to know much about code or about some a little prompt code to operate. So I will now decide, am I to build a purely graphic user's design that will fit in and make the solution? Because the key thing is still the client, not you who is writing the code. Is the client. Because I used to tell people, you might write code and the code is beautiful, it's doing a lot of things, but if it's not meeting the end user's need, then it's a beautiful rubbish. Beautiful, everything is there, but is it solving any problem? So you must decide, after you have written your algorithm, how do I implement? And the implementation could be picking a programming language, picking a tool that will make you achieve the flow, the algorithm, the pseudocode. After that is done, after you have implemented it, definitely, you're going to have results. You're going to have solution. Now you finally evaluate the solution. So from the solution, you should be able to know, because you must have aims and objective of all of what you want the solution to be. So you now evaluate, is the solution meeting the client's needs? In some case, they will tell you, okay, let's give a test run. Part of it is to evaluate. Let's test run. Let's try to give a trial version of what we have so that everybody will come around, use it, get feedback, and from the feedback, we'll be able to know, be able to evaluate what we've done. Is it fine enough to be deployed? Or we still have some other things based on the end user's comment that we need to modify. So if you need to modify, go back to the implementation part and say, okay, fine, they are complaining about this. Okay, fine, I can put in this, put in that. So take note of these steps, because these steps, these 4 steps, will help you in dealing with computational problem. So let's take note of what is problem solving, and then the major areas are steps in solving what we have. So take note of these. This will help for those who will, after now, get involved more in using programs and other things to solve real-life problems. You must understand these 4 major steps. You just have to understand them, because they're going to help you in designing and putting so many things in place. Fact about programming. Is programming for a certain kind of people, namely computer science, engineering, etc. The issue is what? Capital No. Programmers are widely recognized and of the best. Well, this can be, maybe you might say I'm speaking from the computer or the IT point of view, that there are some other things that give some money, fine. But in the real sense of it, we are in the emerging technology age where technology is like taking over every part of us. So I may also be right in trying to put this forward as just a fact that whatever discipline you are, you can still be involved in programming. Either you're using to, and not to talk about the advent of AI almost taking over everything. And like many will say, will AI take over the job, or will some courses that I've read becomes irrelevant in the next few years? Well, that is still a debatable statement. But what I would say is that AI will only take the job of those who cannot use AI tools to solve certain problems within their field. So AI might not take over, like people have been envisaging, or take over almost everything. But we should also know that there are people who will work, program, and keep improving AI solutions to better humanity. So for you, as a student, you must also embrace the new world we are getting to, where emerging technology is more or less disrupting our activities. So if I may give a candid advice, I would say, within your field, learn some application area where you can involve, where you can use AI, where you can use some of this computing thing. Because the difference will be those who can use these AI tools in their field, and those who will not be able to use them. Because once they are deployed, what will differentiate you in the nearest future, or what will take job away from you in any field, is your ability to use technology within your field. So it shows that it might not take the job of everybody, to only take the job away from those who cannot use or apply technology in their field. We have had people who have made a lot from computing, from programming, from a lot of things these days. So I named just few, the girls and all the rest. But what we're saying is that anyone can get involved. Anyone can get involved. You can build up a career within the IT world from any field, because it will augment and make you a better prepared and robust person in the nearest future. So embrace this emerging technology. Some of them are embedded in some programming language. Just have the basic concepts, and also in some cases learn the tools, because there are a lot of AI tools you can use now, and it will benefit you more. But let's stick to the programming aspects of what we are to learn within this course. But it's an advice within your field. What are the things? What are the applications of technology? Which AI tools is going to be relevant to my field in the nearest future? You can start laying your hands on them, learn the working principle, and be proficient in them, and all of that. That is going to help you, and that will keep you at edge over other students. So with programming, you have here, you have the banking application, commercial application, operating system, mobile application, and game application. Just imagine, look at all of these. The ATM, for some of us who are in the Gen Z, the Alpha generation, you might not understand the problem the ATM, automated teller machine, have solved for some of us in the older generation, where you need to go to the bank. You need to go to the bank to do every transaction. And at times, I think so unfortunate that the banks were not online. So, for example, if I need a 2K, like many will say urgent 2K. If I need an urgent 2K and there's no mobile app, there's nothing. So what I need to do with that need of that urgent 2K, there are no POS, all of those things that technology has brought banking closer to us. I need to go to the bank. And if I'm so unfortunate that during that period is when they are paying salary or doing something, that means if I don't go there early enough, I will be given what is called tally number. And at times, the tally number could be number 200. Because some people will have gotten there as early as 5:30, 6 to queue up in front of a bank, just because I need one urgent 2K. And they will have to answer everybody sequentially. So you could imagine the time that will be wasted. So when some of these solutions, we are seeing some of these solutions now, for those who went through the real problem, we understand that this emerging technology are here to help us. But yes, they come with a lot of issues, like security issues, cyberspace, cybercrime, and all of that. But we can't also run away from those things, but we can't just look at the benefit. That benefit is so much. So ATM now, I need another. I can walk into a machine, talk to the machine, make my processes and all of that. you could see that somebody sat down and said, instead of us rushing to the bank, instead of us, oh, we know when you get to the bank, the person that will attend to you is a teller. So somebody just thought of, if I make a machine that will act like this teller, and we have it all over the place. So what they did was to do, was to look at the process of a teller. Oh, what are the process? So what they were trying to replicate with the ATM machine is that, oh, can a machine act like a teller and attend to a customer to reduce what the human teller does in the bank? And that is all. So that's what a few people, they understood the problem. And the problem is that people keep going to bank early, and there's a waste of resources, a waste of time. A lot of things will happen. So somebody just felt, okay, let me design a system that will act like a teller, so that when we have all of this system closer to the people, you don't need to flood into the bank to see a physical human teller. And from there, the issue about ATMs came, and from there we have POS, we have other things like the banking application. In those days also, before the banking industry went online, if I have registered or I have gone to a bank, a particular bank, and a particular branch, not even the bank, the branch, that means that if I have registered and they did everything for me in a bank in Unilag, and I traveled maybe after the whole thing, after exams and every other thing, and I traveled to maybe Kaduna. In those days, you can't withdraw your money from Kaduna until you come back to the branch. So you could see that these problems, people thought, okay, why can't we have an online, essential, so that once you have a means of identification, they can link up your account from wherever you are and all of that. So you could imagine somebody who is not getting used to technology along the lines and all of that, before you know, they are fishing them out gradually from the banking system. So what we are saying is that learn these skills in whichever course you are already in, because it will help you. We have everything. Think of the robot, the internet. We actually have everything with programming. So all of these things are embedded. All what is embedded in some of these things you are seeing, the AI and all of that, are programs, are machine learning. Because of the nature of this course, we are not meant to go deep into some of these things, but have an understanding of how these things are affecting the entire world. And since we are now in what is referred to a global village, you should, as a student, begin to enhance the opportunity you have to improve yourself. I'll give another example. And the other example I want to give is the issue about resources, educational resources. Programming technology, people solving problems to help in that area. I'll give this example that if you need a particular book that is so important, what you need to do is to apply for maybe the university. And if you are so unfortunate, it's outside the country, you have to apply, they have to grant you visa, there are a lot of process just to get a book. In some cases too, a particular institution might not be buoyant enough to buy enough book that will cater for that course. So if I need or I find out that somebody made mention of that book that is good enough, or I go to my own institutional library and I'm not finding books that will help my research, I will now write another institution that I feel might have it. And they will grant me an approval to use their library. And if I even get to the library and it is not able to solve, I'll keep doing that. Just imagine the time you're going to waste, the resources you're going to take to do all of that. But these days, with your handset, with your system, you can have access to thousands and even millions of resources in terms of book, and valuable resources that can help you globally, not just within a confinement of an institution or a locality. You can have access to resourceful books that can help you. Why I'm bringing out this example is to tell us that the essence of programming, the essence of version into some of these things is to solve problems. So you should begin to ask yourself, as a student, what are the problems within my locality? Oh, what are the problems I am seeing around? Can I deploy these emerging technologies to solve them? And once you're able to do that, you ask yourself, do I have the expertise? Do I have the skill, the soft skill to achieve that? Then the aspect of developing some soft skill along the line. Not everybody will be a programmer, but everybody can contribute to solving the problem. Because the programmer is there, those who are knowledgeable about dealing with breaking down the problem, because they are experts, they are there. So there is need for a thorough collaboration in solving real life problem. So I am developing your mind through this course and through this aspect to know that irrespective of the course you have been given, you still have a part to play in this emerging technology. You have a part to play. So we are looking at, we are using just visual basics to stand, to be able to just introduce you to the core, little core aspect of programming. But it goes beyond this. Be a problem solver. Be a good analytical person who can analyze, break down problems, and also be someone who can think outside the box to be able to bring up something. And then you can hand it over to a programmer to be able to design, and we can begin to have a robust, local, content-based solution. The essence of introducing you to the concept of programming is for you to have this broad knowledge about what programming is even all about. To have a broad knowledge of the process in producing a robust computing solutions to certain problems. We are truly having everything with programming, with this emerging technology, IoT, health, AI in health, AI in a lot of field, a lot of field. There's no field now that you don't have AI being implemented, being deployed into it. And things are getting a bit easier for the non-programming, non-computer science based who want to involve. There are tools now. If you have an understanding and a soft skill on how to use those, you can produce some things. There are a lot of drag and drop program now that can say, okay, once you're able to think about the flow, create the flow. There are tools that can even help you to drag. You might not understand the full integrity. Yours is how to get that solution done. So we need to have this at the back of our mind. We've talked about the earlier steps, understanding the problem, devise a good means, then implementing your plan, and then evaluating your solution. And in evaluating your solution, that's where feedback comes in. From your feedbacks, you're able to develop an update of whatever solutions you have already deployed to your clients or to the organization. Now, let's quickly have a little bit of the programming language you want to use, which is BASIC. BASIC is one of the oldest programming language that was developed. And this was developed as early as 1960 at the Dartmouth College. And the meaning of BASIC is an acronym. BASIC itself is an acronym. Talks about the beginner, all-purpose symbolic instruction code. Beginner, all-purpose symbolic instruction. So the word BASIC is an acronym that represents. So if you ask, what is the meaning of A in the acronym, you should be able to say. Oh, okay. The acronym BASIC stands for what? So, and this particular was an answer to the complicated programming language like Fortran, Argol, COBOL. Now, Fortran, Argol, COBOL, they are not event-based. They are like Fortran is a program that to solve some complex engineering and science calculations. The Fora series, the vectors, the matrices, and all of that. So Fortran is formula translation. I have formulas there, but people are finding it difficult. So felt in Dartmouth College, let's produce something that people can easily use, that can be like a drag and drop, people write code and all of that. So we'll see why BASIC was chosen above was a language that came to reduce the complexity of writing programs like Fortran, COBOL, and all of that. So it has revolves over the year from GW Basic, Q Basic, Quick Basic to Visual Basics, and also now to Visual Studio also embed some of the features. So everything you have in Visual Studio, you have the Visual Basic aspects too. You can still run a Visual Basic code within the Visual Studio. So if you have, for some of us who have Visual Studio, you can still use a Visual Studio. Just download the VB part of it. You can still use it. But for some of us, we recommend you get a VB6 a VB6. So, like I said, I will pick maybe next week. I will pick one of the of the of the questions and try to run the Visual Basic either from Basic 6 or from Visual Studio. I may have to do the two for maybe people who have Visual Studio and for those who have VB6. So I may have to display on both so that you can have a feel of what it is. Because in Visual Studio, where you have issue B in Visual Studio, it is based on two. So we have the visual aspect of it, which is the form base, and we have the causal base. So we might not be looking at the causal base because the causal base is having the same kind of code with Fortran and all of that and all of this. But we want to go to the event, full event, which is the form base. The form base is easy because you have some what we call tools. And from the tools, you pick what is called controls. So drop those controls within an interface. Then after that has been done, we can now write some code beneath it. Either next week, we will be dealing with some practicals. I will try to run on both for us to see some of those things that we have talked about in using Visual Basic. So Basic came to make programming a little bit easier because of the complication or complicated programming language like the ones we have mentioned. What is Visual Basic? Visual Basic is a tool that allows you to develop Windows. Many of us have used Windows, and I think every of us preferred using Windows. But for those in computing, for those who have access to some other things beyond Windows, knows that Windows is not the only OS. We have several OS. We have the Unix-based OS, like the Linux, the Ubuntu, and all of that, that have embedded both graphics and users commands. Windows is users graphics, which is just event-based. I want to do, I click on this, give me menu, I click on underneath. So you will see that underneath all those clicking, they are codes that is making them respond to your clicking, to your interaction, in some cases text. Oh, like for example, if I click anything, the start button, you see menu popped up. And from the menu, I click something. Unknown to you, you are the end user. You are not seeing, sorry, you are the end user. You're not seeing those codes. You're not seeing them. So what you see is just the interface. But the programmer has embedded codes within. So VB has two major components. It has two major components. So it has the control and the command. It has a control and a command. A control is a graphical object, such as text, label, or a button. Then we have the command. The command, on the other hand, is an instruction that, when issued by the users, causes VB to perform an action. So Visual Basic is an event-driven. When we say event-driven, what do we mean? Meaning codes remain idle until called upon to respond to some event. Button pressing, menu selection. VB is governed by event processor. An event is an action recognized by object for which one can write code to respond. Well, we're trying to put across is that Visual Basic is a tool that allows you to develop a window-like, which is graphical user's interface. And this interface, the building blocks, are controls and commands. While control is the object you place here and there, while the command is instruction you give. So the first thing in VB is for me to design all my control, how I want the whole thing to be. Once I'm able to do that, I will now begin to put code, which is the command. Oh, once you click this, oh, this is the thing you should respond. Oh, when you do this, this is what. So that's basically all of the definitions about VB, which is Visual Basic. So this is, let's look at this interface. Let's look at this interface. This interface, the first one is like what we have, the normal ATM kind of interface. We have another interface. Another interface is welcome, please enter your PIN. And you have another interface that is called transfer fund. These three interface happens until nothing will happen. Nothing will happen until an event is detected. Once an event is detected, the code corresponding to that event is executed. For example, here, if I say enter your PIN, what you do is to come in, enter the PIN, and press enter. Once you press enter, the enter you have pressed will trigger an event. Because there is a code associated with the enter. And once you press or click the enter, that code associated is to tell that, look, once the end users or the person using this application clicks enter, trigger this action. And that action that will be triggered is already programmed. Okay, so Enzo, you raised up your hands. Maybe I will just try to entertain you. And then Enzo, I saw hands up. Let me just see if I can just entertain that before I move on. I thought you raised, okay. All right, quickly. Oh, you don't have, because I saw you raise your hand, so I thought you wanted to make any comments or there's something you wanted to point my attention to. So if not, is there any? Okay, if none, let's move on. Now, this interface, just take note of it. I just want you, after we have learned a lot of things, how to create interface in VB and all of that, I can just ask you in your own leisure time to create interface like this. Well, the event-driven, which is the command aspect of it, might be difficult, but just try to play around it. I will still teach how to create commands after we have placed all the controls. What is the command? How do we do that in VB? And then it will take you a lot of practice, a lot of learning the programming syntax of VB and all of that to be able to do much in terms of the command aspect. But the control aspects, you can do that. Many people who are good in designing, you can create several designs. But the design on its own, which is placing control on your form, will not trigger any event because it's at the command end that the events are triggered. Program control is then returned to the event processor. So versions of Visual Basic. So these are several versions of Visual Basics we have. And then I will say for those who are into programming or want to be into programming, that one of the fundamental concepts of programming is that all programming have their structure. All programming have their structure. And most programming, their structure is built on what we refer to as their IDE. And what is IDE? IDE refers to integrated development environment. So every programming language have its own integrated development environment. What we are saying is that the environment, the platform to work on that programming language. For example, I've told you, you can use a VB6 IDE to run Visual Basics code and all of that. You can use Visual Studio to do the same thing. So every programming language, Python has its own, the Anaconda, and so forth. Java has its own, the NetBeans, the Eclipse. So all programming languages have their IDE where we develop them. And most IDE are built around the structure of that program. So when we are talking about all programming languages have structure, you should know the structure, most structures are built inside the IDE, the integrated development environment we want to use to develop. So for this, we are using VB6, we're using Visual Studio. That's the IDE we want to use to work on Visual Studio. So this is a typical Visual Basic 6 IDE. This is the integrated development environment where we developed a typical Visual Basic code. So we will explain what this environment is all about. And at the same time, how do we create this kind of environment using VB6 and also using Visual Studio? For those who have done one or two things and programming and you have Visual Studio, what you need to do to use Visual Studio to run this. But for some of us, we just run the VB6, and because this is a typical interface of IDE of VB6. So take note of this. I'll explain each of the things you are seeing now. So this is a VB application interface, which is what we refer to as the IDE. So this also is the structure of a typical VB. So basic structure of a VB. So this I will explain. This is just talking about how the various forms. We have form 1, form 2, form 3. Then we have the modules, and then the areas you have to save them. .frm and the modules .bas. So we have what Morenike, please mute yourself. You're interfering. Oye, is it Oye Bonojo? You raise your hand. Oye Bonojo, raise your hands. Okay, let's move on. So this is okay. Yes, Oye Bonojo, you raise your hand. So can I hear your comments briefly before I move on? Yes, can I hear you? Oye Bonojo, you can.
No, sir, I wanted to talk about the person that was singing. Maybe you should mute their mics.
Okay, I've done that. I've done that from my hand.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
All right. So let's look at all of the things we have seen. No, I gave a simple analogy of several forms. So now let's look at all of those things you saw in the ID, the forms, the control, the property, the method, the event procedure, the general procedure, the modules. So the forms windows that you create for your interface. So a form is like a window. I create the window. And that window, I want to place things. It's not like the design frame. I have a frame. You know, I have to say, okay, in a typical frame, I want to put a picture here. I want to put two pictures. I want to put, now I have it. So I'll first do what? Get the frame. And the sizing of the frame, the resizing and all of that depends on how you want the frame to look like. So the first thing is that I'll create a frame. See form as a window, as a frame. That I want to do something. And I want to put something inside it. Oh, let me first create a frame. So because it's inside those frames, I will begin to place what we call the control. Oh, you here, this is how I want to design. Just like you're putting something and says, I want to design something within a frame. So see window forms. In VB as frames you want to use to develop something. So then let's go to control. Graphical features drawn on forms to allow users interaction. So you see, I've created a frame, which is the form. And I've now take controls from the toolbox. Okay, you this control, I want you to be here because I used to tell students, draw a sketch. Imagine a sketch. A visible sketch of how you want it to do. And for those, that's what you see more. But though it's not basically using VB, but like the web-based forms and all that. The person who has the picture has what it is. This is how I want it to look like. So you must have a visual picture, or better still, a sketch you have put down in a rough place. I want my windows to be this form. I want the control to be here, to be here, to be. So that once you have that, it's from that you now be able to go to the ID, create your form, and begin to implement it. So we have the controls like text box, label, throwback, command things, and all of that. Then another key thing is property. Each of these control has property. And that property is what we use to manipulate or design those controls. So the form has its own property too, but each of these controls have property. So I can alter those property. As I alter those property, it has a direct effect and reflects on how those control will look. So, for example, I may have the text property. And if initially, like a label, initial text of a label will tell you label 1. And once I've highlighted that label, the property will show. The property will show. And from the property that I've shown, I can also, okay, oh, I don't want label. Oh, I want this to be like normal a login. Oh, let it be the user's name. So once I type in where I have in the properties, okay, I don't want it to be label 1 because that is the default name. And I want, instead of showing label 1, show user's name. So automatically where I have the text in the property, once I change that, that user's name will immediately be reflected on the control and so on. So we will do all of this, and the property enables us. Every character of a form or control specified by what? Specified by a proper form. Example, property includes the name. Why? Well, for those who want to use VB, maybe there's something you want to do, write a simple store manipulating, and you want to use VB. The names will be helpful. So we have the names, the caption, the size, the color, position, content, and many more. And many more. So once, what we are saying is that, what are the things and how do you want your control to behave, to look like? Not even to be able to look like. Let me use the word character, to look like. What color do I want to change the color? There's a place for color. I want to do this. Then the next thing is the method. Inbuilt procedure that can be invoked to impart some action on a particular object. So I can create some methods. I say you method, do this, do that, and all of that. Then we have what? Event procedure. Code related to some object. This is the code that is executed when certain events occur. These are now where the code comes in. The properties, the form, the control, and the property are just static. They are just there. But when I want to create an event, when I want to make an event happen, I need to create some procedure. I need to go to where I have the command. So, and how to do that is that if you double click, well, we'll do the practical aspect, which I think will start next week. By 8 next week, I will start with the practical aspect, where all of these things that have been mentioned, we will now list them. I've said, it might take us some time. I'll use the VB6, and I'll try to use a Visual Studio so that you can see how this works. So, Omotayo, your hands is up. Omotayo. Fulfillment, Omotayo Jayoba.
Sir,
okay.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Sir, are we going to, do we need to install the Visual Basic on our laptop?
Yes, you need to. So that's why I'm telling you, Visual Basic 6 depends on your laptop, but you can use Visual Studio. And Visual Studio, any of them, and you can while installing, you can ask to install a VB application, a VB form application. If you do that, then I will then from there you'll be able to. So okay, I've seen another person raising Azan.
Good morning, sir.
Gift.
Yes, sir. Sir, good. I wanted to ask, sir, is it which windows can it take?
No, all
Is it
windows,
like
all windows, depending on the windows you have. VB6 is old, but you can have some ones that's executable that you can use to run on it. So what I would do is that I would see, but at times some system will reject, to see if I can send the executable file to you to see if that will run, or you use a Visual Basics, Visual Studio, and allow it to load a VB form, and then it will work. I will explain some of those things when I'm trying to run. Then if we can get uh, any of those ones, then we could send and see for those who want to, because your practical, basically, I'm expecting, because I also explained that maybe next week what is expected and when you need to submit. In some cases, you can create after designing, you can screenshot your design, and then either if it cannot be taken, you can all the process on how to go about the manual. For I believe some of us have the manual ready, but if you don't, because our major say and will be based on that, because those steps I've mentioned, the problem, the how to go about designing plan, which is an adorable, then the implementation is well stated out in the practical manual, which you are expected to solve all the problems that are there, and then give you a date when you need to come and submit those problems. Try as much as possible. The essence of some of these things is for you to at least lay your hands on some practical work. It's just to give you the feel and about how these things actually works. And that's the reason why I will take time. Maybe I think next week will be appropriate to just do one or two things. Then we continue with the course. Then maybe the third week when we finalize all of this. Okay, I see several hands up. Okay, maybe let me entertain them, so that, because that will help us in moving forward. Okay, so I have three, so let me call one after. I still have Abdullah.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Will next week, with the laptop, is it compulsory for the laptop to be connected to the internet when we are doing it?
No. When you are installing like Visual Studio in downloading, and only you are going to download. But if you have somebody who have it already, you can give it to you and download. Once it is installed, you don't need internet to run.
Okay, sir.
Okay, I still have Mojisola. Mojisola hands is still up. Let me listen to you, Mojisola. Madhuye.
Yes, sir. So I wanted to ask, for those that don't have laptop but only have phone, what should we do? Can we install?
Well, the phone version, I will check. You know, they are trying to produce some of these, but because VB has some graphical users interface, I'm beginning to see that we might not have. But I will check. Things are improving fast, but I just feel you try to look for a friend. Assuming it's when I will have just, okay, let me batch and do some little things. But for now, you just have to try to at least have a feel of it. That's just my own concern. If you have a friend who have it, you can sit with the person, because I'm going to display how these things work, and then give you a little bit of how you could go about some of the things you are in the manual, which is in the practical manual. But I just want everybody to at least have a feel of how these things. That's my major concern. That at least have a feel of how even codes are written, even if you're not in computer science, you're not in engineering, where it's a core thing they need to learn. Just do that. I have other hands. I think Mojisola have answered you. Then I have Karim. Then after Karim, I will take Williams. So, Karim.
Yes, sir. Please, sir.
Okay, Kazim. Sorry.
Yes, it's Kazim. So the Visual Basics, is it a purchased app?
Is it what? I didn't get
Purchased
you.
app. Like, are we going to pay for it? I don't know, because I was hearing that they said it's a purchased app.
No. Is you have it's a visual. If I may get your question right, Visual Studio. You just have to install. After installing, I will run. I will still display. I've said next week I will display how these things work. So if you have installed, it's just for us to build a simple application. So how you go about building the application is what we are talking about.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
So I'll just display. So after you have installed, that's why I'm asking people look for Visual Basic 6 or Visual Studio, either of them. And then make sure the Visual Studio you are using, you have loaded, you are in the installer, you have informed the installer that you want to do something on VB form. Will give you where you can load it. Once that is done, you don't need internet again. You can start running some of these things we're going to do on your system, and then it will work fine. I just want you to practice it. Then you also know you have an assignment, you have your practical manual you need to submit, and some of the things you need to do is to show your interface. You can print out your interface, you design it, but you can print out your interface and also your output. So for some of us who have both the manual, who have the manual ready, knows that some of these things are there. It's just for me to show an example and to talk about how you need to solve, maybe pick one of it and then explain what is needed. But we want to first and foremost also get deep on VB, how these things we have been talking about, how it works when designing one. Okay, so Williams, I think that will be the last person before we proceed. Williams.
Are you going to be using VB6 or Visual Studio? And which one is it?
No, I will use VB6. What I'm saying is that some people's system can take VB6. I also have people, I don't want to underrate or think that I know people who have also been into one or two programs who have a Visual Studio already on their system. You can just upgrade it by just going to the installer and just put VB there instead of going to look for VB6 again. But if you want to do it from scratch, you can go straight for VB6. I'm going to display VB6. I'm only going to explain how to use Visual Studio for those also who have Visual Studio. Is that clear? But you can use VB6. You can use VB6. I'm just only telling those who also have Visual Studio that there's no need running for VB6. You can also update or upgrade what you have and include VB form, and it will work fine. For those who have that, I will also display how they can go about it. But for those who have installed VB6, then I will also do that. All right, so I think, okay, Wes, I just want to attend to all questions before we look at a few things and then before we round up. So, okay, I've seen somebody else. Okay, this is Zainab. Rufai Zainab.
So what if we don't have a laptop?
And I have answered. Once you don't have, then you should have a friend who have one. You have classmates who have one. This is knowledge. I'm also trying not to just know about the assignment, it's also about knowledge. Try to go to where or where someone have and ask the person, oh, you have you done your what's it called now? The practical manual, have you done it? Do you have it? And the person can just team up. And say, okay, and see, okay, let me practice it. Okay, the person have done. That is a way. If you don't have, that shouldn't be an advantage for you not to learn. You can get one or two person you know that has, and go to the person to run one or two things. I hope that is clear. Zena. Okay, so you said, I hope that is, just try to do that. So I have, I think, quadri now. I will just take quadri, then we move on. Quadri.
Okay. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Lassis.
Sorry. I actually was, because I'm not new to programming, so there was a time too I had to make a template for VBNet. So on phone, there's an app they call Decoder, D then C Coder. That's capital letter D then Coder, CODER. You can check Play Store. It allows VBNet templates. It allows VBNet templates. That's for people that are complaining they don't have laptops. I just felt I should share so that I can help
Okay, it's
them
fine.
out.
It's fine. So if you have that, maybe you put it on the chat for people to see, and then we'll also use it. So because the issue, fine, that's good. But we put it as a chat for people to see, and then we can, because I want you also to learn. So the essence of some of these things is for, yes, I understand for those who don't have system, who I wish you do, but we can't do anything about it. Except we pray, God, pray there's a provision. But please, please try to do something. Try to do something. Try to practice something. At least you have been taught. At least I've introduced you to the important and to some of these things. So just meet with your colleagues and then see what we can do. All right, so let's just quickly move on. So I've explained all of this. Mojisola, your hands, okay, you have put down your hands. I thought you still want to ask something, so that I'll take all the questions and then before I move on. Okay, your hands is still up. So do you have anything else to say? Mojisola, your hands is still up. Because I have to pause to take all of your questions so that once I move on now, I'll just take the few parts, then we'll call it a day till we meet next week. And then okay, Elijah. That's why I had to pause to take all of them. Okay.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning,
So,
Oladimeji.
is there like an assignment already like this?
You said yes. There is already the practical manual is there, so is there.
Yeah, all right.
There is. So we have about 4 problems you have to solve. So that's why my duty is to put you through, then practice, you get the understanding, then you can replicate all of that to solve those problems that you have there.
Sir, when are we to submit it?
I will tell you, so I'll tell you when. Are you going to submit what? Okay, that shows that everybody already knows it, so there's no point me. So it's when I'm done, I'm going to give you, because I want you to not just to copy, not just to do things that at least have an understanding, and then you should be able to do something. You should be able to understand what you're doing. So after next week, if I find out or that I'm satisfied enough that we can attend them, then I can ask you, and I can now give a date where you should be treating them, and then when you should submit. Okay, let me pick. I think this last set now. Then I will just. So I will just call you by name. Then I think I've answered Elijah. So I'll call. I'll start from. Who else is okay? I'll start from Babatunde. Then after Babatunde, Daniel. Then after Daniel, Emmanuel. So I will just take those 3, and then we'll move on. Babatunde.
You said that starting next week. Are we going to come to school?
You said?
You said the practical is starting next week.
No. I'm going to do it offline. I'm going to show you offline. We're still on. I just want to use this to explain some of the things that I've talked about. So I will display it for you to see next week. Is that clever about it? Okay. So Daniel, your hands is still up.
Where do you go to?
Daniel.
No.
Okay,
yes, sir. Good morning, sir.
Take Emmanuel then.
Sir, I'm speaking.
I didn't. Pardon?
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Are you still going to explain more on the practical? Because I don't really understand. Though.
That's what I'm doing. That's what I've just said.
Okay.
That's what I've just said. That's part of what I'll do next week. I'll explain. Then I'm still going to give you a thorough explanation of what to do.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, Daniel. All right. I think we're good to go. I saw Samson. I was calling you because we have to look at some things before we end. So, Daniel, are you ready for your question? Okay. If not, Samson. I think Samson will be the last person, and after that, I'm not. Good morning.
So is there a probability that the AI that is being created can be a programmer?
The what?
The AI, or probably the robot that is being created, can be a programmer.
Actually, if AI can be a programmer, already we have some AI that are writing code. You just give them what you want to write. Even your ChatGPT and all of that, they are writing code already. But you need the prompt. They need a prompt engineer, somebody who will guide. And then with time, things are changing fast, but the programmer and the people who need to work on the AI are still needed. So don't be afraid that now if AI begins to write programs, what will happen to programmer when we get there? But things are gradually, but they are still needed, and everybody is still needed in the business, despite AI is maturing to a point where people are thinking that some of these things will go. Okay, so we will discuss more on that. And for those who are interested or we have a lot of AI forums, AI conference you can attend and then in your field, how you can apply AI. So we've talked about the application part.
No, I already made up my mind.
We've said people should mute their mic if you're not talking. It's reflecting and affecting us. All right. So, okay, so let's move on now. So we've talked about all of these, and then now this is this simple step. A simple step. One, draw the user. I've talked about this. Draw the user's interface. And how do you do that? You create your form first. And maybe after the form, what do? You now assign property to that control. Oh, this. I want you to, this is what I want. Then after that, attach the code to that control, which will prompt command. So this is the basic step. And this step is what we will do throughout. So we have this. Now, these modes are things you need to know for those who want to be developers, you want to use VB to develop something. You must understand these basic modes. First is the design mode. The design mode is where you build. You build in terms of replace your form, the control, right? Then we have the run mode. The run mode is that after I've done everything, I want to run the program or what I've done. I click on run, and it will run and take me to where the users will see. Then we have the break mode. For VB, the break mode is that once you press the break mode, what you're saying that I want to debug, I want to halt the program and do what? and debugger will be available for you to have. And then, well, because we are not looking at core pure, what we call breakpoint in a program. Okay, this is this point. Okay, this is the breakpoint. This is what this one is, and all of that. For those who are very, very good at using the VBID, the breakpoint is very important when you want to debug and see how the flow and the result of your programs look like. So these are just the form, the mode. So the basic operates in 3 modes. If, for example, if it's an objective or in a CBT, I asked you, how many modes do you think VB operates on? 2, 3, 4, 5. Or I may put it again. Which of these is not an operating mode in Visual Basics? Design mode, run mode, break mode, tools mode. So which one is not? Definitely, you know it's tools. There's nothing like tools mode. All right, so you have to take note of all of these and be able to understand what we looked at some of them. Now, this is an aspect you need to know. The main window consists of what? The title bar. You see the title bar, Project 1, Microsoft Visual Basics, and then the menu. The next thing is we have the menu from File, Edit, View, and then we have the other part, which is the title bar and then the toolbar. So we have all of this. The toolbar, starting from the title, the menu, and the toolbar. So those are basically the main windows. The main windows in Visual Basic consist of these: the title, the menu, and the toolbar. So this is what we have. And then these are the explanations of the toolbar. So because it's the toolbar you will use often. So we'll find out what the menu bar tells you I want to do. I can go to the menu file, what is the view, the project, the format, the bulk. So once you click on any of the menu bar, you have a drop-down list. The drop-down list talks about some other things you want. So then we have the toolbar is what we'll be using. If I want to add project, I can just click on this. If I want to have new form, I'm working on a form, I want to create another form, then menu editor, this is it. Then follows by the open. I want to open a project. I've done a project saved in a particular folder. I want to open that project. I want to save project, and then I want to run. This is it. So each of these are the toolbar and determine what I want. Now, the toolbox. Maybe I have, it's not appearing and I want it to appear. I can click on the toolbox. Then the form position, I can do and form dimension. I can change, as I change all of these, it's reflecting on whatever I am doing. So now, the first thing is the form. So mainly, I click, I want a new form. This is what is displayed. And this form, you see it's form 1. That is the first thing it's going to show. Then it's going to show you the minimize and then the resize buttons and the close button. So this is a typical thing that will appear when you first bring up or put a new form on your VB. So this is the next thing, is the toolbox. This toolbox, all the tools I need are here. If I want to create a pointer, let me put a pointer so that when I put a pointer, something shows. If it's a picture box, a label, a text box, a frame, I want to put a frame within there. A frame will tell me X and Y, then a command button, the check button, the radio button, the combo button, the list button, horizontal scroll bar, vertical one, timer, the drive list box, directory. So all of these are the things you need to know and how to manipulate their property and how to run code to do some things. So each of these control has their property and how you can go. The command button is one important part. So majorly, the ones you will use more is the label, text box, command button, and any of those boxes, any of them, maybe checkbox, radio box, and all of that. So I will put some of them. I will look at the property, adjust those property, and see how they look like. So this is where you get your control, depending on what you want to do. For example, if I want to get a typical login, which is what we would do. So I'll ask myself, what are the tools? I may need just the label, the text box, and the command button. That can help me design a simple login form. So this, after you have picked a particular, either the form or the control, what you will have, what you will see is the property. And here, from this property, I can do a lot that will affect the control of the form. Look at the name. The name is form 1, from where we are. Now, if I want to make reference to this form from any of the code, I will use form 1. But for example, I may find out that form 1, I want to rename them. So if I want to rename, you can rename from this default name that you have. Instead of putting form 1, I may ask myself, what does this form do? Oh, this form is my login. So instead of putting form 1, I can put FRM login. So I will now change this to FRM login so that as I want to work, I want to make reference, I want to call the form with my code, I'll just put instead of putting form 1, form 2, form 3. It's a good programming habit to always name whatever you are doing according to what that thing is doing. Like form 1. Oh, form 1, instead of leaving it form 1, form 2, it becomes messy because you might not be able to know which of them. But if you label or name them according to what they are doing. So if I say, okay, I want if this happen, call the login again for the person to log in. All I will just use the form, instead of form 1, I'll just say form RM login. I know it's for login. I will say .show. This habit helps you as a programmer not to get confused, because if you have a lengthy code, even in the variable naming and all of that, you need to make sure that each of these forms are named according to what they are doing. So here I can change, instead of having form 1, come here, put the name, put something else, the dimension I want, the color, this, the caption. Instead of showing form 1 on top, I can also say, no, this form, this login form. I can do that. And that's that. So manipulating all of these properties helps you to allow the form to look the way you want it to be. So this is a typical one. You could see this form layout. This is the form layout. You have this form and all of that. This is how, when you execute, how the form will come out. We'll try one next week. So now we have the window property display, a list of forms and modules making. That will be by the side. That's where we have that. project window, where it displays, oh, you have window, we have form 1, form 2, or you have module this, module that. That you will see when we run a typical Visual Basic. So we have this, then we have the issue. So double click the tools. Now, if I want to create a form and I want to put those toolbox, any of those control from the toolbox. So either I double click on that tool, or I drag it, drop it, I click on it, drag it to the form, and then resize. So this is how to pick any of those control from the toolbox. So you pick them, drop them, double click, they automatically appear somewhere on the form. And you can now resize or move it to where you think you want to do or you want it to be. So this is a typical thing we need to do. So we draw. So this I will do next week. We will treat all of these, how to place the control and all of that using what we have. So I will display this. Then let me just also explain some things, because we're going to close or end today's lecture with this. So fundamental feature of Visual Basics. Features to be discussed include keywords, constant, variable, data type, data declaration, operations, expressions, operators, expressions, assignment, input statement, output statement, and control comments. Program comments. Now, every programming language have what we call the fundamental features. It's from these fundamental features we got all of this. I've talked about structure. The first thing is that programming language must have structure. And told you will get a structure from the IDE. And the IDE is what? Integrated Development Environment. For a VB, we are using Visual Basic 6 or Visual Studio. That is the IDE. Then immediately after that, we have the keywords, constant, variable, data type, data declaration, operators, and all of that. So let's look at a few of them. Wherever we stop, we're going to continue next week. So keywords. A keyword is a word or phrase that is exclusively reserved or kept for special use by Visual Studio. Not only for Visual Basic as a program or programming language have keywords. Another name for it is reserved words. If I ask, what is another name for keywords in Visual Basic? You should be able to tell me it is what reserved words. So when we talked about reserved words, we're also talking about keywords. So these are examples of keywords that we have. These are typical examples of it. And then we have all of these as examples. So we have then a constant. A constant is a numeric or string value that does not change in a program. So what we're saying is that if I declare any variable or anything as a constant, that means that value will not change throughout the lifespan of the program. So this is a typical way of doing that. Const pi equals, so that means the pi will never change. The value of pi will forever be what we have as what? 3.14159. A variable. What is a variable? A variable is a location or area in the computer memory where data is stored. The name given to the location in the program is what is meant by the variable name. And the variable name, what we use to get that is identifier, because there are valid way you need to declare it. You can change the content of a variable, but its name and storage area are reserved for use until you end that section. So this is what variables are. So this is basically what you need to know in giving a variable a name. The first character must be a letter. This is the naming convention for all variables in VB. And then you must be able to understand this and also know which is valid, which are samples of valid variables like this. So you can have some, can have underscore in between them. So now let's go to data type. Data type is basically used to tell whatever you are storing inside this variable, which is the storage location, must be of this type. So we have integer, long integer, double, string, and all of that. So in VB, how do we declare a variable with this data type? Because you must declare a variable and must assign what type of data that must be stored in that. For example, the surname as string. So what I'm saying is that that surname must be a string. And in most programming languages, string is embedded in either in single quotes or in double quotes. So a variable can be used to hold data from users. One way of doing this is that is in VB. You can have some sort of input box, but we will treat some of these things and tell you what you need to do. So in console-based, input box is very, very, very good. But we're using the event-driven type, which is the form. We'll explain how we need to carry values from text box into a variable and use along the line. So using variable to display output, we can use this x equals to what box, message box, send a message, and that message, and then it's been displayed. So this visual basic statement and expression. Visual basic statement and expression. So we would call it a day now, and we will proceed from the practical, just the display, just the display of a login and some few things. Then thereafter, we'll continue from here next week, Tuesday. Any question, anything? Okay, so some people have raised up their hands.
Sir, please, can we have the materials for this class?
You said, can you have
the materials for this class?
Okay.
Sir.
Okay, I will do that, or probably hand over almost this particular one, because I still some things to you. Then I'm done with them next week. Is that fine by you?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
So I'll just see by next week if we have done with this part of the slide. I will just send it to your reps and then to get to you immediately after next week lecture. Any other? So I can see Chidera. You can see Chidera's hands is up. Then I can see Onoja. Marvelous hands is up. So let me start from Chidera.
Hey, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
This assignment, I don't understand the nature of the assignment you spoke of.
No, the assignment that we have a practical logbook you need to work on.
Okay.
Yeah, there is a practical workbook you need to work on.
Are there any assignments in the workbook
There
now.
There are problems in there.
Are there any we need to solve or work on?
You said?
Are there any we need to work on?
I didn't get that.
Like, are there any assignments in the workbook currently now?
Yes, there are about 4. There are 4 of them.
Are we working on anyone?
You are working on virtually all. So it's not that anyone. You have to. There are about but there are ones you can work on. At least from next week, you should be able to do that. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I have some other hands on as we call this meeting a close now. Okay. Babatunde, I think Babatunde hand is still the one up. Babatunde. Good morning.
Of the assignments in the workbook or logbook.
It's a logbook. It's a logbook. There is a logbook.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sir.
The logbook is what I was referring to as the practical, the logbook. Okay. Is that clear? So I think Onoja, your hand is still up, so that let me be sure that I've attended to all.
Sir, I don't understand anything about the assignment and practical.
You don't understand anything there.
About the assignment and practical. I'm just
But
hearing
have you seen
different
the
things.
questions? You've seen them?
No.
So why did you say you don't understand what you are? I know part of were you in a class?
Yes, I was in the class.
Wait, hold on. No. You know,
I
what is
left.
it called now? Polia's step says what? Says first understand the problem. So if you have not seen the problem, how will you be able to know if you can solve it or not, or you have not analyzed the problem?
So about this logbook, are we buying it, or is it inside the
No, I
workbook?
think they have it in the bookshop. You know that.
Yes, sir. Because when we bought this computer stuff, we bought the textbook and the workbook.
Yes,
So
that's the workbook. That's what you. There are things in the workbook now. They are there.
Okay, so that means we can find the logbook in the workbook.
No. The workbook. Use the workbook. Once you have it, you have a workbook. The workbook is what some people might call it workbook. In some cases, it's called logbook. In some cases, it's called the practical manual. So whichever name, they are just semantic.
But sir, like, are we to start anything on it, or you let us know if I start
No,
anything
but
on
next week, we want to see how I will explain some things to you next week. Then immediately after that, I'll give you the deadline when to start submitting, when you resume fully. Because for now, we are still working online. Is that clear?
Okay, so for now, we should not do anything. So by next week,
no, you can if you can solve it. You can.
Sorry, we don't have to solve it.
If you are knowledgeable enough to solve it, fine. But if not, wait.
You should wait.
Because we're already dealing with the programming aspect, which is what is needed to solve it. Is that not?
Yes, sir.
So be patient.
Okay,
So by next week, I think with what I've done now, I will pick typical things and I will see what we can do with what we've done now.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right. So Favor, these are almost up to 10. Favor.
Yes,
so
sir.
let me quickly attend. I want everybody to be attended to so that I will not leave any stone unturned so that we will know we're at the same page. Okay. Favor.
So about the assignments you give, I already got the logbook, but I'm not understanding where we're even supposed to do the assignments.
No, it's in the logbook, or people call it logbook. People call it a lot of names. It's there. You are not doing something else apart from the ones you have been given already.
I don't know, but the assignment is confusing because I'm with the book and I've been with the book for a while now. And
okay, what is confusing? I wanted us to look at it towards the tail end of everything to know what is it confused in there. So
like,
that
the free spaces in the book, I don't know where to put the assignment.
Hey, that's where the issue. That's what part of what I want to tell you. There are two ways about it. If you know, you can staple. That's part of what I'm going to. Like for example, my interface that I've used. I can screenshot it, just staple it, or where I need to write one or two things, I can do that.
Okay.
Or if I feel that my code can take it to where I can rule it into two, start here and put here. The issue is but for some of you who feel, okay, I've solved, okay, I can't take it. Let me not just print out one of it, staple it in the portion it needs to be. That you can work.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Is that clear now? So we'll just look at them generally and then we'll be all right. So I have attended to now. Next is Abdullah, then Charles, Emmanuel, and Virginia. So let me just take those ones and then I will end this meeting. It's already after 10. You don't want to go. All right, I'm listening. Quickly.
Sir, I have a question. Is it possible to buy like the workbook separate? I have the
I don't know. That is not, it's not within my, I get it. So that I can't give an answer. Okay. So it's for me, both gives knowledge. That's why I'm taking my time to explain.
There's a blue line inside the kitchen.
Okay.
There's a blue line available.
So
okay, and also the sir, also the VB6 or Visual Studio, is it something that you download straight, or it's like something that you transfer through all these?
No, if somebody have it already, have the executable file already on a flash, you can, and then somebody was saying some other platform he had used that could work. I asked him to place it on the chat. I will check the chat, and then
No, it isn't.
Okay. Is that Abdullah? Is that fine? So
Sir.
Charles.
Hello.
Charles, then Emmanuel, then Virgin, then I think Abdullah. I hope that I've solved that answer your question.
So please one more question.
You said? You said what?
Sir, is there any way to make this thing run on MacBooks?
Yes, there should be. There should be a version, but I don't know because there should be a version for that, or a Visual Studio version for that. You know, each of those OS have their own version you need to download and how to install.
I've removed it.
All right,
Okay.
so thank you.
So Emmanuel, then Virginia, before I say, because we have to end the class now.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Sir, is the workbook available in the bookshop now?
You said?
Is the workbook available in the bookshop now?
After now, I will find out. Then I think that will be, I will find out.
Okay,
have you
sir.
gone there?
I went last week. It wasn't available.
Okay, so I'm in school, so I will try and do one thing about it. All right, so I think that I've resolved all questions.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Hello. Someone is saying something.
Sir, please, can I see the last slide?
The last
slide you showed, the one showing constants.
Constant. Yes, okay. Constant. Well, constant is not the last. The one this is constant. What happened?
Okay, thank you, sir. No problem, sir.
No, say what? You wanted to say something, so it's...
No, that's all, sir.
Okay. So, all right. So, I think the rest, we can call it a day now.
Sorry, sir.
Sir, the the Visual Studio 6, is it like an ISO file or an exe file?
You said what?
The Visual Studio 6, is it an ISO
Yes.
file?
No,
Or
it's an executable file. You have it .exe, so it's an executable file.
I'm saying .iso.
No. Maybe if you download it, it should be an executable file. It makes it easier because you have to install it.
Jesus Christ.
Let me check the ones. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to say thank you all.
Assignments in the logbook. Are we going to submit the logbook?
You said?
If you do the assignments in the logbook, are we going to submit it?
Yes. That's where you're going. That's what you're going to do.
Okay, sir. We'll do it and submit it. Okay, sir.
So any of I think thank you very much for listening. And then I hope the explanations and the lecture was okay, and then we all followed. So we'll try to work on some things next week. So thank you very much. See you next week. Remain blessed.
Oh, this Visual Basics. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Hello.
Oh,
I want to buy logbook like this.
So Emmanuel, then
Go try go. Try. Ita come out of it, come out. Really can't get it alone. Money do all of it, no why. Sure, no, mama.
How I do? I just the manage for you.
Yeah, that's easy. Uh, Well, I promise you, I'll look back. Kaya di pa ba kayo? Dikatap. Dikatap ko rin. Sige, Willie. Amali kinukun na. Oh, okay now. Oh, no. Damn. Oh. Ah. Ulu niya na.
Bye bye. Dios. Really.
Abosiri.
So yeah, the class ended.